I'm listening to this lady's video, and a lot of the stuff she says makes sense, especially because I know people in construction. And the ballroom itself doesn't make sense. However, what she doesn't realize is I don't think Trump is smart enough, honestly, smart enough to understand. You know, he ran on deep state, right? The Republicans were saying that Biden and the administration for Biden had a deep state, and other presidents had a deep state, but there's no more bigger deep state than what Trump is affiliated with. She goes on to talk about how there's a possible data center being built under the so-called ballroom for Trump, right, in the White House. And it's funded, well, really it's funded by us, but then money is transferred and then comes back to this ballroom from Israel, because Israel has its own data centers that can actually be touched if they go into war. So they're using the White House to build this data center. I want you to listen to a little bit, and then I'm going to come back to it.
Decorating ballrooms. It was just weeks after Trump said that very quote in the Oval Office that they fired the ballroom architect and hired the Pentagon guy. Okay, so what does any of this actually mean? Well, I think we should go back to the underground data centers in Jerusalem, because understanding why Israel built those might tell us why Trump is building one here, allegedly, supposedly, in my opinion. So Israel built those facilities for something called Project Nimbus, which is their government cloud infrastructure. And we've seen what this looks like in practice, right? I mean, the AI system that Israel's using in Gaza, the targeting systems, the surveillance infrastructure, the operational decision making, and that all runs on this underground data center network. I mean, we're talking full AI takeover, military operations, intelligence gathering, government AI information systems like banking, critical infrastructure controls, everything that keeps the country running. And they put it 9 stories underground because they needed it to survive, not just survive a power outage or a cyber attack, but to survive a war. I mean, they needed it to survive missile strikes and keep running no matter what happens above the ground. Because when you have your entire government running on AI systems, that is now the brain of your country. And you have to protect the brain of your country with a thick, thick skull. That's what data sovereignty looks like. That's continuity of government. And that's what AI warfare infrastructure actually looks like. And then I'm looking at Project Stargate, announced on January 21st, 2025, Trump's first full day in office. And Larry Ellison is going on and on about this $500 billion AI infrastructure that's going to save the government and cure cancer. But all of these grandiose ideas surrounding AI, all of that needs a home. And that's why I think it has to be at the White House specifically, because when infrastructure is a part of the executive office of the president.
Can you imagine telling the president, hey, we want to build you a ballroom, giving him the idea of building a ballroom, and then, hold on, taking my my retainer out because it makes my tongue lag. Can you imagine having him believe it's about a ballroom when really it's about a deep state right under his nose? You know, the thing that he claims existed under, well, they ran on existing under other presidents. But the real deep state is Israel's connection to this so-called data center under the White House. Let that shit sink in. Let it sink in. And of course, you know, the Trumpers they're gonna back Trump no matter what it is. They don't care, you know, whether the things they voted against was this deep state, but then as long as it's Trump, the deep state's okay. You know, this kind of crazy stuff is okay. However, I don't think Trump knows. I don't think he really fully understands. He thinks he's getting some ballroom. He thinks it's for him. These people that are getting all these things done under his administration, no, all it takes is to flatter him and his ego, and they can get anything done. Anything. That's scary.